Full-Time Devils, time for another huge debate. Very interesting one today. Chosen by you on YouTube and on WhatsApp on our new WhatsApp channel. You can check out the link in the description if you want to check that out. On the debate today, Adam McKola, you know where to find his videos. Paul Rantcast from the Rantcast, one of the best Manchester United rantcasts on the internet, or podcasts, I should say. And also, Jamie Jackson is here, also known as Jamie Paradise. Jamie, you've got a book out, haven't you?
I have indeed. Well, what I'm going to say about it this time is the main character, who's a bent policeman, D.I. Frederick Street, doesn't like football, but he'd be a great director of football for Manchester United, because you know you're going to get a new one, or the first one, because he likes a dodgy deals. We better get you people like Lionel Messi for like 5 pence. You know what I mean?
I like the sound of him, mate. Wheelie dealy.
Yeah, but yeah, it's all about cocaine, dodgy dance moves, disco, house music, father-son shenanigans. Check it out. There it is. $2.99 on Amazon. The price of a coffee. What more do you want for Christmas? And it's set at Christmas. It's an alternative Christmas yarn.
And the link is in the description below if you want to get involved with that. It's called Nighttime Call. Link in the description. Right, let's get into it. Yeah, very interesting debate today. We are comparing Sir Alex Ferguson's last Manchester United team to Jose Mourinho's current Manchester United team. We're doing a combined 11 from the two. And it's going to be quite interesting because it might seem quite self-explanatory to some people that obviously Ferguson's title-winning team was better. But if you actually look at some of the players in there, there maybe could be a few from the current squad that get in there. So, boys, before we start, I'm going to read out for you the starting 11 of players from Ferguson's last season that played the most games. So these are the players with the most appearances in all their positions. So David De Gea in goal, Raphael, Rio Ferdinand, Johnny Evans and Patrice Evra in the back four. Vidic was suffering with a few injury problems this season. I'm sure a lot of people will remember his knee. In midfield, now this is where I think it's slightly weaker, Antonio Valencia, Michael Carrick, Tom Cleverley and Shinji Kagawa. They are the midfield that played the most games in Ferguson's last season. And up top, we did, of course, have the man, the magician, Robin Van Persie with Wayne Rooney. We won the league last season, of course, went out the Champions League in the round of 16. One of the most frustrating feelings ever when we went out to Madrid that night at Old Trafford. Totally undeserved, dodgy decision. And of course, Van Persie was our top goal scorer. 30 goals that season, 26 in the league. Other notable squad members as well before we get into it, just because I love talking about these players. Lindegaard's in there. Nemanja Vidic is in there. He did get a few games. Hernandez, Paul Scholes, Danny Welbeck, Ashley Young, Nani, Chris Smalling, Ryan Giggs, Anderson, all them in there. Let's get straight into it, guys, and talk about the goalkeeper and the defence. Combined 11 from those two teams. Who would get in it? Goalkeeper, it's an obvious one. It's De Gea, or, well, it's just De Gea. So are we all picking current De Gea, yeah? Yeah, we don't really need to get into that one. We all know how David De Gea has progressed. Right, defence. Paul, let's start with you, mate. Combined defence, Ferguson's last season, Mourinho's current season. Who's getting in there?
Yeah, this one is not very combined. In fact, it's not combined at all. It is the back four that was the sort of definitive back four of the 12-13 season. So Raphael, who I think had his best season in the United shirt in 12-13, absolutely criminal. Van Gaal sold him a couple of years later. Was relatively injury-free that season, if I remember rightly as well. One of the few times we could say that about him. Rio, if this was Rio 13-14, we might be having a conversation, but he was still excellent in that, and he really served as a older head in that back four, especially playing alongside Johnny Evans. And I think Johnny Evans is my pick. He had a very good season that season, but also he just worked so well alongside Rio, because Rio could help Evans kind of cover over some of the weak points in his game. I always felt like that's what Johnny Evans needed more than anything, was to be playing next to Rio. And at left back, Patrice Evra, who I think if we were talking about the 11-12 season, or maybe even 10-11, Evra wouldn't have got in this, because he did really dip after that incredible peak in sort of 2007 to 2009. There was a time when Evra was a bit of an accident waiting to happen, really. But 12-13, he really found his mojo again, and of course scored a lot of goals. We all remember header after header from corners, where he became a massive offensive weapon from Robin Van Persie corners. So that's my back four, and it is really very much the 12-13. This is the David Moyes tribute back four. he thought the squad wasn't good enough, but apparently they were.
Jamie, who's your combined back four then?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say is if Bailly was playing all the time, which he's not, then I would put him in instead of Evans, because I really rate him as a centre-back. He's fallen out with Mourinho in a nutshell. It's not because of form, so that's kind of why he's not in the side. But, you can't really argue. I mean, it's a shame Dallow's not been fit, for example, because he looked good in that young boys' debut. It was that game. But, he wasn't so good against Derby. But what I'm saying is if he'd had a run of games, maybe, just maybe, we'd be sitting here thinking he might get in. But, yeah, I completely agree with Paul. That's a pretty decent back four, and obviously De Gea as a keeper.
Adam, are there any defenders at the club right now that would have got in that team? Surely there's one.
I've picked two of them.
Oh, go on.
My back four is Rafael da Silva, obviously. One of the sales by Van Gaal, which really bothered me, was Rafael da Silva. And another player that's in my team as well, but I'm not going to mention him yet. Rio Ferdinand as well. Rio, the GOAT, to be honest. For me, Rio Ferdinand's the best centre-half I've ever had. The best centre-half England's ever produced. And I put him in there. It was just before he started going on that decline as well. I didn't pick Vidic because I thought he was on that decline. And I didn't pick Evra because I thought he started to go on that decline as well. I know he didn't have a bad season, but I always felt Patrice Evra's positioning and Patrice Evra was just not great defensively towards the tail end of his United career. So my defence is Rafael, Rio, Eric Bailly. I love Johnny Evans. I even said he should be United captain. But I think if we had someone like Rio in the tail end of his career alongside Lindelof and Bailly now, I don't think we'd have a problem with our back four. I think we'd see those two players be a lot better. So I picked Bailly and I picked Luke Shaw at left back.
I really shouldn't say this because people will go back and find it, but there's a preview that we did during the Moyes season. I genuinely remember this, where it got so bad, I think I came up with the idea of playing Johnny Evans in midfield. That's a genuine thing that actually happened. That's how bad it got.
I thought we were going to win the Champions League, so...
Can I just...
It's so frustrating. We could have won the Champions League in Ferguson's last season. I think we could have had a very good chance. We should not have gone out. No, definitely not under Moyes. Right, moving on, guys. Let's talk about the midfield because this is where obviously quite a few of the current squad I think could potentially have got into that Ferguson team. Ferguson towards the end wasn't really keen on having any sort of a midfield really. Jamie, who gets in there?
Right. Well, I've gone for Paul Pogba.
Yes.
For me, he's a shoe-in. I know he can be inconsistent, but he's class. And even when he's inconsistent, he looks probably, one of the best players on the pitch. So yeah, he's in. I've gone for Michael Carrick because I think if you've got Pogba in, giving you the energy and the dynamism and all the rest of it, Michael Carrick just sort of running it, sort of, you understand what I mean, in front of the back four.
I love that.
I don't think there can be really any argument about this. Now, if this is a 4-4-2, I mean, this is the other thing about the formation, then we're going to have two wide players. I quite like this system, actually, because then that means in Gab, Anthony Martial on the left of midfield, yeah, obviously pushing on, doing his tricks. And this is going to be an interesting one because it means, for me, that there's no place for Rashford. It's Lingard on the right for me. Because I just think he's got X factor. I like him as a footballer. I think he gives United something completely different. He's a bit of a one-off if you look through the league as well. He's almost like United's David Silva. I don't think he's the same kind of playing style, but in terms of him being a different element that he gives United, like Silva does for City. So yeah, they're my four: Lingard, Pogba, Michael Carrick, and Anthony Martial. If they're all playing really well, I think that's a pretty formidable four.
And just to reiterate as well for anyone at home like screaming, going, well, Paul Pogba wasn't even that good back then. No, we're comparing 2018 Paul Pogba. We're using 2018 Paul Pogba, not 2013 Paul Pogba, okay? But yeah, like Adam says, he was still quite good. Adam, who gets in your combined 11 then? Fergie's last season, right, so Mourinho's current team.
I need some out because I've picked a 4-2-3-1, so how do you want me to give you this?
Same.
Right, well, so these two ought to be awkward. Go on, then give me your two midfield.
Not being awkward, being sensible.
It's a fantasy thing. Just play a 4-4-2.
Because I feel like we might have the same team now, and it's worrying me. So I'm gonna change the.
We've already got a different back four, Adam. So you're all right.
Yeah. Carrick and Pogba are my midfield too. Anyway, Paul Scholes' last season, he didn't play much around that time. Obviously, it would be fantastic for someone like Pogba to have a Carrick and a Paul Scholes alongside him now, and not a Matic and a Fellaini or a Matic and McTominay, because it'd be almost like he was still at Juventus alongside that wealth of experience that just said, go on, Paul Pogba, you go and play. I remember, obviously the level I played at is not Paul Pogba's level, yeah. But I remember once playing alongside this old fella, and he said to me, you don't worry about anything, you just do what you're good at, yeah. And I scored, he was like, you're going to score a hat-trick as well, by the way. And I banged a hat-trick, yeah. And it's just like, sometimes you just need to be told, don't look behind you, because I got you. And I think Paul Pogba would be so amazing with a good midfield.
Adam there using the wealth of knowledge that he got from his top-class football career.
Scouts.
Paul, are you playing a 4-2-3-1-2, mate? Who are your two midfield?
I am, and I'm playing the same two in midfield, but I think more or less everybody would. We're not having Tom Cleverley in there, are we?
Hey, don't you dare say that about the new Paul Scholes.
Talking of Paul Scholes, the old Paul Scholes by 12-13, he was ready to finish by that point. He still had moments of brilliance, but I don't think, like Jamie said, even when Pogba's inconsistent, he still looks like the best player on the pitch most of the time. He was terrible against Juventus, a combination of emotion and I guess maybe some of the injury that he ruled him out of the City game had started to play up or something. But he still pulled off one absolutely outlandish pass that nearly created something. So, yeah, Pogba's amazing. And Michael Carrick, I think there's a solid argument to say that 2012-13 was Michael Carrick's best ever season in the United shirt. He was our midfield in that season. Without him, I mean, Van Persie was obviously the headline-stealing player of the season, but Michael Carrick was number 2 and not that far behind, and then there was a massive gap to whoever was number 3. Right. Michael Carrick, he was amazing in 12-13.
So, Jamie, no Paul Scholes in anyone's team then. What do you think about that?
Well, it was close, I have to say, because it's a similar reason why Carrick got picked, and that is because I think you need a player to help Pogba just be Paul Pogba, and Scholes kind of do that in his sleep because he's so good. I mean, there's no debate about that. But the reason I just feel a little bit, Carrick was a bit younger than, if you want to say he was the best player out of those two, there's not against no comparison, it's Scholes, at the peak. But Carrick, for me, was underrated. Now, Paul Scholes, I think if Carrick didn't exist, I think you're still winning the title with Paul Scholes, playing in the same number of games.
Not that season.
Do you think?
No, I think that season, Van Persie and Carrick carried us.
He was well on his way out, Paul Scholes, as well that year.
It was good when he announced his retirement and said, this is ideal, Rooney's handed in the transfer request. No one's going to pay me any attention. That was basically Paul Scholes' best moment of that season.
But if you remember Ferguson, and I have to anyway, put some story in this. He loved him so much that he wanted him to come out of retirement, and he obviously saw something. And this is Sir Alex Ferguson, the underrated genius, if you ask me, of world football. He was so good. So there's something there. So what I'm saying is I think that under Ferguson's management, and part of this is about the managers, isn't it? Not Mourinho's management, Ferguson management. All the years he spent with Scholes, blah 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 blah. I think he could have got a title-winning contribution season out of Scholes with Carrick there. Alongside Pogba, just because I think he trusted him so much, and there's a kind of almost an intuition between those two. I mean, he loves him, doesn't he? Every time he writes about Scholes, Sir Alex Ferguson. So you're not telling me Scholes wouldn't feed off that, like the greatest manager ever, loving me, trusting me so much. It's all about a confidence thing, isn't it, football? So that's why he nearly got in. But, because Carrick exists and, was a lot younger and better at that time, and it has to be him. But that's why he nearly got in. But, I mean, if you're looking at the rest of the midfielders, or the midfielders now at United, there's no one, apart from Pogba. I mean, that's how bad it is, or how average it is.
I'll be honest, I was close to Herrera,
Were you?
I was going to pick a midfield 3 with Herrera, but one of the players I picked in my 3, I kind of had to bring myself back to how I felt about them at that time. So, yeah.
Who was that? Who was that player?
Find out in a bit.
Nice. Now that's a good tease. On the way, we're going to be talking about the forwards and finding out about Adam's mystery player. On the way. Right, let's get into it. Talk about the forwards. We have got 2 more forwards to come from Jamie and 4 to come from Paul and Adam. McKola, let's start with you, mate. Who are your forwards? You're playing a 4-2-3-1, aren't you?
Yes, 4-2-3-1. So the 3 in front of my midfield 2 of Carrick and Pogba. On the right, Lewis Nani, obviously. Has to be Nani.
Nah, mate. Nah. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. Mate, I'm seeing it on Twitter all the time at the minute. Everyone talking about how good Nani was. Nani wasn't that good. He had 1 good game and he went missing for 10 games. He was utter crap for 10 games and had 1 good game. He was just Memphis. He was reskinned Memphis.
No, he wasn't. Why?
You tell me why he wasn't, mate. He used to frustrate me more than any other footballer.
How can you compare him to Memphis Depay? Do you realise what you just done?
You talk to me.
He's 10 goals a season, assisting goals as well. The guy was the nuts.
Adam.
That's real.
Adam.
He gets into this team.
That's all he was.
How many games did Nani play in the league in 2012-13?
I don't know, you know.
It was 7. 7 and 4 substitute appearances. Yeah, all right. 7 starts, 4 substitute appearances.
Why was that injury?
1 goal, 2 assists.
Because he was crap.
Nah, I'm picking Nani.
Nani is one of those players that nostalgia goggles there, mate.
Nani's the man.
No, Nani's highlights look great on YouTube because he scored some of the best goals that we've ever seen scored at Manchester United. But then after 10, he did. Nani scored some brilliant goals. And then that was 1 game. And then he'd have 10 games where he just disappears. Well, either way, that's going to get people going in the comments. So get in the comments below. Go on then, what's the rest of your forwards?
So, we got Nani in there. Lewis Nani.
Who's next?
Portugal. Then we got Wayne Rooney in the hole. That Wayne Rooney that season, I know he had his falling out and he had his little thing with Fergie where he didn't hand in a transfer request, but Fergie tried to make it look like he did just on the way out. Nah, we know what Fergie did, man. Come on. You know what Fergie was doing then, man. But he had a lot of goals in I think in the FA Cup he had 3 and 3. I think he had 12 in the league campaign, which obviously for Wayne Rooney's standards isn't a massive amount. But I just remember him sitting in that position and often finding Van Persie with some passes which were out of this world. If you remember Villa as well, for example. So I had to go for Wayne Rooney, man. I had to pick Wayne Rooney in this team. And then on the left, Anthony Martial.
Yes.
Anthony Martial under Sir Alex Ferguson is the best player in the Premier League. Facts only. This current Manchester United team under Sir Alex Ferguson, I think, is better than the 12-13 team as well. I just think that there's so many individuals in there that maybe nostalgia will bring them back into it, like Nani and stuff like that. But there was a few on their way out. But I do think current team's better. And then up top, Robin Van Persie. You have to pick Robin Van Persie, even though the season after he was awful. His head went. I think his head went because Fergie went, and I think he pictured something. He pictured the 2-3 years with Sir Alex Ferguson winning 2-3 league titles, potentially a European Cup, and finally getting all the things that he thought he would get at Arsenal, at Manchester United, and Fergie delivering that blow, that news that he was leaving. I think it affected Robin Van Persie more than anybody, apart from us fans who are obviously still recovering now. And Van Persie, 12-13, there's not been many better strikers at United than that Van Persie in that season. I know he had the dip in the middle, but you can forget about that.
He's a proper United hero after that season. I think we all just forget what happens after that, don't we now? Paul, what is your forward 4 then, mate?
So, honestly, before we started recording this, I checked with you whether the parameters were the form that the player was in.
I forgot how bad Nani was
in the individual season because Nani isn't even in the conversation.
No, he's not, is he? He's really not.
But if it was the season before, when he was absolutely amazing and scored 8 goals and got 10 assists, that'd be
but this was the pre-season of 2012. I'm thinking of.
But for me, on the right, I've gone for Juan Mata, who I was originally going to put at number 10 because I think it'd be really nice to see Juan Mata finally get a chance for Man United at number 10, even if it's only in our imaginations. But I actually think he would knit this team together really, really nicely. Because one of the things about when we were talking about the midfield is there's been so much conversation about how Pogba has thrived. The best version of Pogba has often been in a midfield 3. So I was thinking, how do you kind of get a midfield 3 in and get all the players I want to get in? And I couldn't work out how to do that. But Juan Mata is kind of playing on the right is a kind of halfway house because he'll drop back into midfield and form an extra player in midfield. And of course, he'll play all the way across behind the striker. And I think him feeding Van Persie, obviously Van Persie, that's not a spoiler warning, I'm picking Robin Van Persie up front. I was close to picking Kagawa over Rooney, and then I realised that was just what happened next. Really, you can't do it. I think that Fergie bought Kagawa to replace Rooney in the number 10 position behind Van Persie. I think that's why he was there, and I think that I don't believe that Ferguson's decision to do all that transfer request stuff around Rooney was about like finally getting revenge for what had happened a few years earlier. Revenge being served very cold indeed. I think he was trying to do David Moyes a favour. I think he was trying to say, if it's not next year, then it'll be the year after. Rooney's on his way out, and you are better off starting afresh and building something new without him than having him around clunking up the joint, which is what happened for most of the next 4 years. Anyway, he in 12-13 he's got to play in the hole, and on the left, this isn't a conversation. No, it's Anthony Martial. Not only is it Martial FC now, it would have been Martial FC then if he was in the team.
Even if he was 12 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
We should have got him in.
You would have loved Martial, you know.
It hurts. It really hurts. But yeah, so Mata on the right, Rooney in the middle, Martial on the left, and Van Persie up front, and there's a lovely fluidity to that where Martial can go and play centre forward alongside Van Persie, and Mata will kind of intelligently cover for him. You got Carrick and Pogba. It's just that that team ballers would work.
So little pace.
I have a feeling the vast amount of today's debate is going to be about that right wing position. Jamie, who are you playing there in your fantasy team? Oh, of course you do. Who are your two up top then?
Well, I'm afraid it's the same too, and it's a 4-4-1-1 this, so Rooney gets to play his number 10 position. Adam just mentioned it then. If nothing else, that pass to Van Persie, was it the hat-trick goal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it just drops and he just bangs it in.
For the second one, I think. Was it
the second one? Okay. But...
Yeah, because he won the league with the first goal, right. He won goal of the season with the second, and became top scorer with the third.
I like it. For me, Rooney, he's the best English player I've ever seen. I mean, I was around for Gascoigne. You can have a debate about Gascoigne, but for me, it's Rooney just because, I just thought he was phenomenal, especially when he was about, 9 years old or something. He's really young. He burnt out after Euro 2004. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but anyway. So you've got Rooney in there because he's a bit of a leader. This current crop lacks some sort of presence. So I'd say on the field, apart from Pogba maybe. And then you got Van Persie, who he had a bit of a Roy the Rovers dream season, doesn't he? I hear what you're saying about he was heartbroken about Ferguson and all that, but crumbs, for the rest of his days, he can look back on the time he arrived at, arguably the biggest club in the world and won the title for them, because it's a team game, obviously, but without him, I don't think you're winning it, are you? And he did that. He walked in there and he walked the talk sort of thing. That's why he was signed, and look what he did. He got, 26 league goals, I think you said, Paul, 30 altogether. And he played, dreamboat football. So,
Jamie, can I ask? You mentioned Rooney and Gascoigne in the same breath there, yeah, and I don't disagree. Do you think, if Rooney had not achieved what he had achieved and just had those first couple of years, he would now be loved like Gascoigne.
Yeah, it's
but because he fulfilled his potential, he did. Come on, Paul. Let's not like. I know what you're saying, but
I don't disagree. I don't disagree that he fulfilled his potential. I don't think that's why. I think the reason why there's a kind of slightly negative tone to it is that he just hung around for both United and England for about 3 years too long. And I'm not even like
the nostalgia of Gascoigne, like, and someone like, because you always look at someone that could have done something in a little bit more of a sweeter light, like. I don't know. I just think it's. I think Rooney's better than Gascoigne, is what I'm saying. And the English fans and the English press and the English media and even United fans to a certain extent, even though we do appreciate him, need to appreciate him because he basically was Gascoigne, but he had a career. Do you know what I mean? And he won trophies and he became England and United's record goal scorers. Like, it's mad to me that we don't. Or like some people don't want to acknowledge this guy.
It's very interesting because as a sort of half wind up, I put something on Twitter about 2 years ago about Rashford and Rooney. People thought I was being serious, but I was interested. United, at the same age, I mean, at sort of 19, and I was actually surprised pleasantly that United fans were coming back at me saying, "There's no comparison. Rooney at that age was an absolute." Belting player, proper. But the reason why I did it was because I get so much negative stuff about Rooney. So I was actually interested to see have they got it in him to give him some credit when he deserves it. I'm not saying all United fans, but those sort of people who come back at you and are a bit abusive. But I think it's complicated why Rooney has this. I think everything that everyone's saying, there's a bit of that. I think also as well, and it's a very difficult thing to say this, but I think from maybe. Not you for your most right-thinking United fans, but the fact that he's from Liverpool and maybe held against him when it started to go a little bit wrong, because you'd hear stuff, and I'm not saying that's the whole reason, but also the thing with Gascoigne is people sort of feel a little bit sorry for him. Not only the bad knee injury, but the way it's gone, unfortunately for him post, in stopping playing with the sort of problems he's had, the issues. So I think there's a bit of that mixed in there. But as you just said then, Adam, and I'm going back to the Nani thing actually, maybe in 10 years' time with nostalgia. When there's more of a distance, people go, oh yeah, you know what? Because he was a phenomenal player. I was lucky enough to cover the Euros 2004. He tore it apart. I think he was 18. England might, I know, could have, should have, and all that sort of thing. But I was at the game at Portugal when he came off with the foot injury. I think it's a quarter final, and everyone's like, that's the end of us, and it kind of was. That's how good he was at 18. I remember his debut. The competitive debut against Turkey, I think it was, when we had to get a result to qualify for that tournament, and he played like a 28-year-old. His ball, his in-game decisions, what he would do, not like Rashford where he gives it away. He just had it already. He was a fully formed player at 17. It was mad how good he was.
It was an incredible. It's bizarre, but he was an incredibly intelligent footballer on the pitch, and I think that like you say, many United fans are quick to sort of jump on Rooney and criticise him at times, but I do think a lot of that just stems from things that have happened off the pitch. And hopefully, all of us, Man United fans, can look at his career and consider him, for me, he's one of our best ever players. And for me, growing up in the Wayne Rooney era, he is our best ever player. But that's just me.
His whole career, it's nuts. It's nuts.
Exactly.
From that Arsenal goal to, I don't know, was it the second transfer request or was it a fake transfer request? It was just nuts.
I mean, it's lovely seeing him. It's lovely seeing him tear it up in the MLS. And you talked about nostalgia. I do think that's already happening to an extent. We're already kind of just like with Van Persie, where the other day I suddenly went, oh yeah, he didn't actually literally just have one season for United. Just like with Van Persie, we just forget to an extent the last 4 years of Rooney at United and remember what came basically before the ankle injury against Bayern. There was some good moments after that, but that was kind of the turning point.
Like with Giggsy, people forget that they wanted him out.
And Scholes. I remember there being people at the game.
Scholes did refuse to play the League Cup game, but let's forget that.
I remember people sat behind me at the game saying it's time to get rid of Scholes. He's been past it for ages, and I'm just like, what is going on here? Okay, 30-second round. Adam, time for you to argue why you think your team is best. Tell me. Go.
My team is so good, we can even afford to have Nani in there, who was hit and miss that year. You might get a magic goal from 40 yards. You might get someone that just doesn't pull their weight. but it might be magic. But apart from that, Carrick and Pogba, absolute perfect midfield. Rooney just ahead of them, pulling the strings. Van Persie scoring all the goals. And Anthony Martial being moulded by the greatest manager there ever was into the best player in the world. What a team.
Thing is, for me to decide the winner of today's debate, I've got to look at like the differences in the teams and that right wing position.
Shaw and Bailly as well.
It is quite a big one, and no. Right, Paul, go on, 30 seconds, mate. Tell me why your team's the best. Go.
Yeah, unfortunately, Adams walked into the trap of picking the Lewis nanny who skied the ball into the back of the Stretford end rather than the one that hit it into the top corner, so he's out. Jamie's team, I liked plenty, but I actually think that the 4-2-3-1 with Mata in the side brings a bit of balance, brings a bit of knitting things together, it'll even allow Rooney a little bit more freedom. So you've got Carrick allowing Pogba freedom, you've got Mata allowing Rooney freedom. This is a lovely combination, and I think it'll work beautifully.
Paul's team's so slow.
Done. That's what I'm worried about a little bit. And
I've got Martial in the team. We've got Rafael da Silva at right back.
That's it. That's it.
Pog was quick. Pog was quick.
Paul picked Ashley Young at left back, by the way.
No. Evra was still quick in 12-13 as well, by the way.
Jamie,
Luke Shaw's better than ever at that point.
I tell you something, since you've just mentioned him for the first time in the debate, Luke Shaw under Sir Alex Ferguson. Could you imagine that? Right, Jamie, what's your combined 11 then? Sir Alex Ferguson's last year, Mourinho's current year. Talk to me. Go.
Well, I think Adams makes the trick here because he's gone for Nani, but he should have gone for Lingard. Because with Lingard in this side, I think you won. I think that team won it by 11 points. I think you're winning it by 31 points with Lingard.
Oh.
That's how good he is. Forget about freedoms, Paul. You can't win anything with one matter. You know the one major honour he's never won in the game. It's the Premier League. I rest my case.
That's it. Jamie's won. Jamie's won.
Jesse Lingard's never won the Champions League, though, has he?
Domestic medal. Jamie.
He has won the Champions League.
It don't matter. I'm deciding it now. I've decided that Jamie's won. I'd rather see Lingard.
No, I won. Jamie's got a 4-4-2.
Yeah. I'd rather see Lingard playing.
Buy that book.
You can vote. You guys watching, if you disagree with my decision, you can vote on whose team you think is best. Just do it. It's around the screen somewhere.
I think Lingard don't matter. There's no competition in this video.
Maybe so, but guess what? You didn't.
Every time we do one of these debates, it says in the little thing we get beforehand, the quality of debate, the kind of points made, the respect, and don't just pick the team you like the most. What happens every time?
Are we going to debate which manager we picked, guys?
No, we're not going to do that. That'll be a very quick debate.
Jamie,
but guys, thank you very much.
Jamie, respect. Respect.
Guys, thank you very much for watching today. The huge debate on Full-Time Devils. We have got a WhatsApp channel. The link is in the description below. Thank you very much for Adam to joining me today. You know where to find his videos.
Yes,
Paul from United Rantcast. Jamie's here as well. We have got a link in the description below for his new book, Nighttime Cool. Good to have you on, guys, and we'll catch you next time on a huge debate. See you in a bit. Laters.